These are the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. You may experience enjoyment walking through these doors. It's hard to say, really, but at some point, you'll want to talk back, and they'll expect it because their opinions are unworthy of most of humanity. They're not real lawyers. They're not. Stop thinking that they are. If you really want to get in touch with them, you can email them at qsblawoffices@gmail.com or find them on Twitter at qsblawoffices. Walk through the door right now, though. Pay that retainer. You won't get your money's worth. Welcome back to the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this September 16th, 2020. To reach us, go to QSB Law Offices. What? Go to qsblawoffices@gmail.com. I don't know. This is new, everybody. I'm trying to tell you where to find us, and I screwed myself up. And on Twitter with @QSB Law Offices. Tonight, we have a very new client. This is one that Brendan coaxed into our doors, and the client is, we don't need no stinking age limits. So I'm going to let Brendan take the floor on this one to discuss what makes this of interest to him. What was it that caused you to want to get this particular client?
Well, there's two things. I mean, there's a whole lot of things out there that age limits just seem ridiculous to have, and we can get into that. But before I do, I think it's important that I make a statement from the fake law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker.
Yes.
That is, there is one subject that there is a real hard line about age, and that is consent. And I think that brings us to this whole controversy. I don't know if you guys follow this, and it's not TikTok witches this time. This time,
the consent of TikTok witches.
It's the warlocks of Tinder.
I think the TikTok witches fully consent. The warlocks of Tinder consent to everything.
The elves of Snapchat.
Yes, I think the warlocks of Tinder are led by what's his name from 2.5 Men, but
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. I think he's the head warlock. But
could be.
I'm talking about the Netflix show Cuties. Have you guys heard about this at all?
I've heard about it only because I saw it pop up on a Facebook feed of somebody wanting to talk about it on a podcast, and I'm like, this is like the Little Oranges, right? And so I looked into it, and it wasn't about Little Oranges. It was about this Netflix movie about this woman and what she experienced growing up as an underage female who was sexually trafficked or something like that.
I wish it was that interesting.
Okay.
It's really a movie. Now, I have not watched it and refuse. I was watching something on YouTube. Some YouTuber had mentioned it, and I kind of find his videos funny, and I thought same thing. Oranges? What is he talking about? But the headline was something like, it's really worse than you think. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, this is a movie about little girls. And by little girls, I mean 11, 12. And the actresses that portray these people in the movie are 11 or 12.
Okay.
And it's all about this,
It's like a French movie too, right?
It's a French movie.
Well, that explains everything.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
To further alienate our French clientele.
Yeah, there are a bunch of degenerates over there.
I thought I would just finish them off at this episode. We've been leaving us, and it's time to really put them in their place.
So you haven't watched the movie.
Au revoir.
And I haven't watched the movie, and Greg doesn't even know about the concept. So do we really need to go into this particular thing?
All I'm saying is, topically speaking, that particular movie, people are boycotting Netflix all over the place. I didn't finish what I was saying, but the movie is really about a young girl who seems like she's being raised Muslim and decides to rebel against that. Yeah. And as a result gets involved in an erotic child dance team. And some of the footage, I mean, I was watching this guy and he's doing clips of it. I watched a little bit of the footage. I turned off the TV, unplugged my router, cleared the cache, felt like it, went outside and watched for some sort of car to come. That's how bad it was.
A black helicopter.
Maybe.
Well,
Like
Greg was
helicopter-
actually raised in a similar environment. He was raised as part of an erotic dance troupe at the tender age of 25, I believe. And I think that could be his story. He's called cutie by all of the homeless men around his block.
But we were
I
known as
think.
the unfuckables because we were very chaste.
Was that
We were
it?
cock teases, basically. We were very erotic, but we never put out.
What kind of outfit did you wear, Greg?
Ooh, it was racy.
Was it
Kind of like fongy.
fungy?
Fongy. My nipples were exposed, little holes in my dance skin that showed my
Okay.
nipples off.
Did you carry sparklers too? And when you danced,
Yeah, it was tasteful though,
Was-
erotic but tasteful. It's the unfuckables we were high class.
Okay. Well,
We danced for the royalty of Europe.
did you? Was like the king of Transylvania?
Yeah,
No. Prince Andrew,
command
probably.
performance. Yeah, command performances.
All across the nations.
Kim Jong Un.
I don't think the
We were very
timeline
popular.
works for that.
So let's start with, that's a big age limit that people care about, just the sexual one, and it's very controversial.
My point was to get that out of the way to any of the listeners who might see three, 50-year-old
Exactly.
men talking about age limits don't mean anything. I thought I just wanted to get that gorilla
Yeah.
out of the room right away.
Oh, you
That's
made me
the-
a little more concerned actually with how you started than what I was expecting.
No,
was
I
like,
just wanted
where's
to
Brendan going with this?
Well,
No.
that's a thing. Anyone who really knows the age of consent laws is probably a pervo who
Oh,
really
for
wants
sure.
to know.
Yeah, my basic conception
wants his
is
research.
that if a person is under 18, you just leave them alone. You just
Yeah.
like blanket, under 18, just leave them alone. And if
But what
you're
if-
more than 20 years older than somebody who's 18, you should leave them alone. Actually, more than
What
20
about
years
two
older than any
16-year-old
woman,
kids?
you should just leave them alone.
What about two 16-year-old kids?
Well, that's
Should that
different
be
because
illegal?
they're the same age.
I know, but technically they're not allowed to have sex in this country. Two in love,
Well, if
boyfriend,
they're
girlfriend.
16, I think it depends upon the state you're in.
I was
Some
going to
states,
say,
I
not
thought
in
they're
Florida.
14.
Oh,
Not
you're
in
right, yeah.
Florida.
Yeah, I think it varies depending upon where you are.
It varies state to state, but
Country to
um,
country.
yeah. Yeah, that's. I wasn't necessarily wanting to just roll this into that whole subject. I just wanted to get it out of the way that that's one age limit thing that I think all three of us can agree is a line in the sand. No,
Yeah, I wasn't even planning on
Yeah.
talking about that, and
I
I'm always good about just dodging those kind of subjects entirely. But that's me.
I only bring it up because it is so topical. People are talking about it, and if someone's just sort of scanning podcasts and sees whatever, and age doesn't, we don't need no stinking age limits. With the current environment, they might get the wrong impression.
Well, considering that I personally consider pedophiles should probably be burned at the stake, and the fact is that it's a huge political movement going on right now for various different people. I just kind of want to avoid that controversy entirely, But that's me. I thought we were going to talk about drinking in the military. That's where I thought we were going with the whole age limits thing.
Oh,
Well,
where
let's
I
talk
wanted-
about that.
That's where I want to go. I just wanted to just say that so we got that out of the way early on.
All right. Well,
And
thank
then
you.
later on, we could talk about underage erotic dance troops more because I'm very interested in this topic now.
Yeah,
I forgot.
Towards the end of the episode, I can give you some links, Greg.
I think you're
Okay.
looking more for overage erotic dance groups, Greg, like people over the age of
Yes.
70. I think that's really more your thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
They'd be robbing the cradle with me.
right.
There's a
Going after the
place,
70 to 75-year-olds.
Yeah, there's a place in Florida called Wikiwachi. It's about an hour and a half north of here, and they have kind of erotic mermaid dancers that dance in this big tank.
Yeah.
And I went there with my boys for some reason, and they did
Some reason.
Place like
no.
Wikiwachi, why wouldn't you take them there?
God, it was some
Wikiwachi,
sort of
no tiki, no
slide
shirty.
park.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a slide park. There was like a lazy river. But anyway, maybe it was a Boy Scout thing. I'm not sure. But one of the shows was they brought back all the old broads that had been involved a long time ago, and they put them back in their mermaid outfits. And so it was like grandma mermaids swimming around in, two-piece bikinis with tails and
did you
Like a
suddenly learn
manatee.
about the predilections of your sons towards older women all of a
both of
sudden?
my boys have never forgotten that. I think both of them were scarred by it
And now
and
they're
still
dating older
question.
women, probably. They're all like hanging out with
They're
grannies.
into gilfs.
Gilfs.
Maybe, I don't know.
So what would be the age limit on that, Greg? What would you say is like the oldest person that you should have sex with? What would be the limit on that?
Oh no, none. People
None?
99. If
100,
some 99-year-old
120?
woman scores a 50-year-old dude, good for her.
I'm talking about for you
God
personally,
bless.
though. Where would your limit be?
Oh well, I mean, I don't know. Who knows where love might take one?
Uh-huh. Where do you think love
Chemistry.
would take you?
I could meet a 99-year-old woman who just revs my engine up and makes me just woo. She's hot. You know, it could happen.
Okay. Well, I'm curious, like, how do you envision that? I mean, what color hair do you think she would have? Would she
I imagine silver.
completely
Or
bald?
none. Yeah, none or silver.
Just like straggly hair, kind of like that witch from Excalibur, I think it was, or
Yeah.
Robin Hood.
Or her hair would basically be one strand of hair coming off her head.
It's like wrapped around the head.
Yeah, there should be no limits. Old people deserve to fuck.
I
Leave
mean,
them alone.
That's your bumper sticker, actually.
Their lives suck enough as it is. Give them something.
Yeah,
All the time.
I would agree that is definitely something that if you can make that happen after in your 70s, 80s, 90s, and you've got a consenting person to do it with, whatever, man.
Well, they got Viagra now, so it's more possible. And I just read about today, there's dick injections you can get. Porn stars use them. It's better than Viagra. It's surefire. They just literally stick a needle in your dick and they put this crap in it.
I used to live with this guy when I first moved to Oregon who actually had a penis implant,
Whoa.
which just freaked me out when he told me about it. And first of all, I was like, why is he telling me about this? And yeah.
He wanted to show it to you, didn't he? I bet he wanted to show it to you.
He probably did, but I asked him not to. I don't.
Did he have the pump? Do you know? Was it like a pump, right?
He was a guy who was about 20 years older than me at the time, and it was basically this old guy living alone. And then I moved in with him. I didn't know these things about him before I moved in, but overall he wasn't a bad sort. A little bit of racism thrown in here and there.
So 20 years older than you, that put him at what?
I think he was
50?
in his 60s at the time.
60s. Okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, how old was I when I moved here? It was 2004 when I came out to Oregon, so that was 16 years ago, and I guess I was about 38.
No, he was in his 60s.
Yeah, late 50s, early 60s, something like that. Anyway,
It
so it was just, I never even thought people would do something like that. I don't even like talking about surgery in those areas unless you absolutely have to.
Was he like a bit of a player? Was he getting action like he needed that because, he was bringing home the bitches all the time or what?
No, this guy was basically a shut-in, I think, but in his day he had been,
Uh-huh.
As far as I know, maybe he was bringing in call girls. I have no idea. It didn't happen while I was there. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
He wasn't rolling in the dough or anything, which is why he would have a complete stranger move in with him without ever having met him. It was.
And then tell him about his penis pump. Well,
it wasn't a pump. It wasn't a pump. It was an implant. He had an implant in his penis to keep him not perpetually hard, but at least stiff in a certain area. Apparently,
like
I don't really know how it works.
Call him up right now.
Yeah, if he's still alive. That sounds terrible.
I don't really want to talk to him again. But
I do.
I kind of left that chapter closed until just now. Whenever we were talking about whatever we were talking about. So age limits are in all walks of life for all sorts of different things, right? But it kind of starts with the age of majority in terms of age limits, where things start getting limited, what you can do, right? In other words, if you're not at the age of majority, you're still considered a minor, the ergo majority and minority, right?
Right.
So you're unable to do lots of things. Although I remember back in the day, if you were 16, with parental consent, you could join the Marines. They would let, and I'm not kidding.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it was, I don't know if it still happens, but it used to be you could join at 16. So that explains a lot of things about some people.
The Marine Corps.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense because it's easier to break a 16-year-old's will than an 18-year-old. Like, you can really just screw their head up and brainwash the shit out of them easier. So that would be better.
Is that what they do in the Marines? They just
Yeah.
brainwash them?
They got to.
It's all Semper Fi, man.
Yeah, it's just like run into those bullets. You're probably gonna die. You gotta. It's a certain kind of way of thinking. Most people don't have.
Well, it's the military. You have to you have to create that mentality if you want people to follow orders, right? But if you're going into it, you're going into it with the concept of you're going to have to kill somebody at some point. But you have to obey your officers, otherwise everybody could die because all the.
I just knew that if I ever went to the military, I'd totally be the guy on a toilet bowl saying, "I am in a world of shit," and shoot myself.
Are you talking about you would be Vincent D'Onofrio from Full Metal Jacket?
Exactly. Oh my God, totally.
Okay.
I would break. I am a weak man.
You're the one who would sit there and like shoot the drill instructor and then shoot yourself?
Probably, yeah, or something. Or just get beat up by soap at the very least. Bags with soap in them.
But soap by itself, like a bar of soap, would come after you on its own.
I hope not.
There'd be like no one else wielding the soap. It was just the bar of soap coming to attack Greg. This somehow animated soap. It came to life because it hated you so much.
This is a top secret weapon the military has. You shouldn't be talking about, Matt.
It's like a wind-up bar of soap or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how is it powered? How is this bar of soap powered?
AI soap.
After you.
Yeah. You don't know what the military has. I mean, I wouldn't talk about this shit.
Oh, well, I think they build them in the 5G towers. These bars of soap. These attack bars of soap.
Probably.
Soap.
They come down out of the sky.
That's right.
They probably got the recipe.
It's actually what's been talking to QAnon, getting all the theories out there. It's like, he's like, my magic bar of soap has been talking to me today. What other crazy crap can we tell people? Oh yeah, wildfires are started by wood nymphs and fire elementals, and they're preventing the fires from getting into Canada. Yeah, that's the next one. Anyway, sorry, I got a little on a tangent there. QAnon, bars of soap, fire elementals,
wood elves, wood nymphs,
the
druids,
they're all working together. 5G towers, Stonehenge. Demonic rock and roll. It all comes together at some point.
Hey, let's talk about that age of consent. Like, do you guys have an idea? Like, do you think 18 is a pretty good age? Do you think 16 is maybe better? Like, when you're 16.
For what?
To go into the military. What do you think? Do you think it's too low, too high, or just
as a volunteer? Well, I think there's a reason that people have to be at least 18 before they can vote, because I don't even know what that reason is. Well, shit. Maybe we should just let people vote at the age of 10 for all we know.
I was just going to bring that up, Matt. That's one of the ones that I think that should be lowered on the one end, meaning younger people should be allowed to vote, and I think should be prevented at the top end. Like, there's a certain point, if you get to a certain age, you don't get to vote anymore.
Oh, well, why would that be? Because you're going to be dying soon?
Because you're watching Fox News too much?
It's a certain age where you just flip.
Yeah, because they just don't have any skin in the game. I mean, what the hell? They're just looking out for the last 10 years of their lives. So their only issues are like fear and Social Security.
Yeah.
That sounds like most of my conversations with people on Facebook.
That's why you should get off Facebook right away.
Social Security. It's the only way I can agitate my uncle who's in his 70s, because he's like a total pro-Trumper, and it becomes amusing to watch him threaten to block me over and over again. And I keep telling him to go ahead, block me, and he won't block me, and I don't get it. I don't know why he won't do it. I'm like, all right. I think it's just to keep telling him that he's living in his own echo chamber if he blocks me, and so he'll just have the sound of his own voice and his sycophants to tell him the same thing over and over. And whenever I accuse him of misogyny and racism and whatever else I decide to accuse him of that particular day. So anyway, why am I talking? Age limits. So
age limits, military.
Well, what's the age limit before you can't believe Fox News, or when you start believing Fox News? What is the age where that
turns? It be like 50-ish. A lot of people.
I don't know that there's an age limit on necessarily believing Fox News, but because there's certainly lots of young, crazy racist people.
Yeah.
But I think that young people just should be allowed to have their voices counted earlier. I don't know, maybe 16?
Well,
Yeah.
let's say, like, how many 16-year-olds do we know, and do we trust their opinions or not? Maybe we just make this a little more real worldish. Like,
Look how bad adults voted in the last election, how dumb they are. So is that could it be worse? I mean,
I don't
adult
know.
Americans are pretty
It depends on who
fucking
they'll be putting up.
stupid.
They could be putting up freaking gamers or something to
Well, they put
become
up Trump. Sorry.
politicians.
Maybe that might be better. Who
You think it'd be
knows?
better to just have somebody who plays video games all day long as president of the
Gary
country?
Gygax, the guy who created Dungeons and Dragons, should probably be good at government. He
Well,
created a whole
he
world.
created a game, but I'm just saying somebody who doesn't create games, just one of those guys who hangs out in his parents' basement for all the time.
How is a gamer any less qualified than the two current presidential candidates?
He's less qualified?
No, how is he? Yeah, how is he?
How is he?
qualified?
Well, I think it
Well,
depends.
Biden's had some experience in government, at least. I don't know if
Yeah.
that helps. It's
Well, you know, you
a
could
bad
say
thing.
Trump has had experience in government now, because before
Well, now
he
he
came
does.
in as a novice, you know, now he's got 3 years of learning how to burn the country down.
Because
Yeah.
experience in government is the key factor in why somebody should be president.
No, not necessarily, but it does help to know how the levers work, if you will.
I think it depends
And
upon the sanity
be
of
able
the
to do
individuals involved. So that's
Yeah.
the real question here is like which one,
Sure.
who is sane out there? I don't know that the two candidates are necessarily sane per se. I think the only one that I could actually see, honestly, that I might be interested in is Kamala Harris actually being president. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
she's
at
with
least
us.
at least she's
She's a
got
smarty pants.
she's got some experience with the law and understands, you know, the rule of law to some extent, which our current president doesn't seem to understand the rule of law, nor has he any shame whatsoever. Pence seems more of a toady or a sycophant, you know, in terms of he's just doing whatever Trump's bidding happens to be, you know, and generally looks like a beaten man whenever you see him. It's like he was the one who's supposed to have been running the COVID task force, and he barely could get two words out whenever Trump was around. So, you know, it's like who's left over? You know, Biden is just a card that I'm willing to play only because I don't think he's going to deliberately try and destroy our country in the way that our current president has tried to destroy our country. Now, as a gamer could deliberately go in to try and destroy the country because then they might think that they have the extra lives necessary, that if they make those big mistakes, they could, you know, restart everything and start all over again. So, you know, there might be some questionable responsibility.
Or they might see it as a big game. Like, oh, I don't give a shit what happens to the country. This is just a fun game. I have the army at my disposal, and I could just do some crazy stuff like in a video game.
I kind of feel like that is the current president.
Yeah, I think
You
he's
know,
like that.
It's like you're not looking at the
a
full
big game.
consequences of your actions. You know, you're not saying
Right. So,
like,
so
how is everybody affected? So I don't know, Brennan.
the question.
What controversy are you
question
trying to
was-
create here?
I'm going to go back to what you said. The earlier
Okay.
question was, do we know 16-year-olds who whose decision or vote we would trust? And I do.
Okay, like
Me
most
too.
16-year-olds, would you feel that way?
I mean, I'm less and less connected to the 16-year-old demographic at this point.
Yeah.
But when my kids were that age, they're now in their 20s, and so on. But when they were in that age, I knew plenty of 16-year-old kids, including mine, who I would trust their vote explicitly.
Yeah.
Not any less, even if they disagreed with me.
Uh-huh.
Even if this 16-year-old was a right wing, a conservative, whatever.
Yeah.
They were thoughtful, at least. They thought it through.
I would feel like he thought it through. He didn't have to. He's got his whole life ahead of him. Whereas
But
somebody in their
don't you think they don't have
70s
enough interest in terms of the bigger issues going on in local communities? For example, roads and power and gas and what have you, the things that
Most people don't know that shit. I don't know that
most
shit.
people pay those bills, though.
This is true, but
Yeah, and so
That's
it
a pretty
means
minor
more to them
thing.
whenever the like taxes show up on their bills than somebody
Yeah.
who's 16, right? More people go, this could directly affect
Suppose.
my income, right? And I think that's probably a larger reason why people who are under the age of 18 don't have the power to vote, because generally at 18 you've reached the age of majority, you're an adult, and you're working
so can I bring up a
allegedly,
point?
unless you're like, I'm
But-
thinking maybe we
but-
should
but-
raise the power, the age of consent, or the
But see, that's
voting?
that's
Yeah.
not a dissimilar argument to the way it used to be, where in order to vote you had to be a landowner.
Well, I think
Only
being
a
a landowner
landowner-
or a land worker are two different things.
What does
Yeah.
that have to do with it?
You had to be a landowner to vote, he's saying.
Yes.
Right. What I'm
Land
saying
workers
is that
couldn't vote.
right, but well, I guess maybe I'm missing your point then. So what are you saying is
You're saying that kids don't, 16-year-old, to hear that person's vote doesn't necessarily count as much as somebody who has to pay bills. And all I'm
Yeah.
saying is, why? That's the same logic. The same logic is, well, if you're not a homeowner, if you rent an apartment, you don't understand property taxes. You don't understand millage rates. You don't understand where your money goes. You just pay your damn rent. So you don't get to vote. You're just an idiot.
well, no, renters
In
still have
fact,
taxes
I'll go
they
a
pay on
step
their
further.
bills, though.
If you're not a business owner, if you work for somebody, your vote doesn't count.
People who rent still have taxes that they have to pay. People who work
True,
have taxes,
but not
they have
property
to pay.
taxes. So
Okay,
I'd be an ignorant
not
voter
property-
on a property tax issue. I would
Kids pay
not
sales
know.
tax.
Right,
Yeah.
or income tax you'd have to pay. So, I'm saying those things are affected, whereas generally under the age of 18, you're not paying any taxes of any kind.
Matt, I get your argument, but let me counter with this. How many old people get to vote young 18-year-olds into some shitty war because they don't have to fight it? They shouldn't be allowed to vote for those kind of things. There's equal things that, this isn't your fight. You don't have a say in it. You don't care.
Right,
Old people don't care if we
Well,
start
then they're not
another
voting for
war.
16-year-olds to go out to fight either, unless
No,
they
I'm
volunteered for the military.
I'm just saying for the same reason that 16-year-olds might not be ignorant about things like taxes and paying bills. Old people are ignorant about the consequences of having to actually go and fight a war just because you like the idea of, let's start another war. We don't have to fight it.
So maybe what we should do is we should just enact a law that we can shoot old people out of cannons or something at the
That
enemy.
would solve everything, yes.
Basically, everybody who
Perfect
voted
solution.
for a war gets rounded up, and they're like, okay, you are now fodder. You are now that which is shot through the cannons. Are you still going to vote for this war? Yes. Okay, then that's where you get to go. Maybe that's how we can end wars. As long as we can get that on a global basis, I think we can get war to stop. Get everybody
Capital idea.
vote for a
Capital.
war, shot out of a cannon. Anyway, but there's lots of other age limits that we can talk about. Like we could talk about speed limits, aren't an age limit. But I had a friend, and she used to think that the speed limit meant you couldn't go slower than that number, and she could never understand why she kept getting speeding tickets. So,
And she was allowed to vote
and drive.
yes to both.
and drive.
That is correct. She eventually learned the opposite, but yeah. Well,
You're-
it makes
you're
you
a part of
wonder.
the problem.
But it makes you wonder, at what point you can't really force people to do IQ tests to see if they're rational enough to vote or to drive. But you do have to take a test to learn how to drive. So maybe you should take tests to vote. Maybe that should be added to it. Like if you have to pass some kind of a test to be able to register to vote.
Well, do you know about Jim Crow laws, Matt? That didn't go over well.
Tell me how this is something that would be an ableist agenda.
No, the Jim Crow laws, they would make black people take these crazy tests like, you have to memorize the Constitution when you get to the polls. And white people didn't have to do it because they knew that most black people, most people didn't know that shit. So
yeah, well, I'm just saying across the boards, though, across the board. And again, that's where, the Electoral College comes in. But, I didn't really want to get into all this stuff, I just want to get into, the age limits and what is appropriate or not appropriate age limits.
Let's talk about drinking. Drinking seems to be the one that young people think
what
about.
age limit would you like to discuss, Matt?
Greg just mentioned one. We should talk about that because that's one you brought up before. I don't know how we get sidetracked. It seems like we do it often. I don't know why.
That's our MO.
That's our
That's
thing.
what we do.
What's the MO stand for, Greg?
It stands for
I'm just curious if you know what it stands
Moopy
for. Moopy. That's what all the cops say.
It stands for modus operandi, which in Latin means pasta fagioli. It's a soup. It's in Latin. That's a delicious.
So modus operandi is a type of soup. Is there cheese in that soup?
No, it's just beans and it's yummy. Never had pasta fagioli? It's good stuff.
Actually, I haven't.
What
are the ingredients in pasta?
Lots of beans, some noodles. Other stuff. I don't cook. I don't know how to cook. But.
Yeah, but you're Italian. You're supposed to know these things from a young age.
Hey, that's a stereotype. Shut your mouth.
Racist.
Yeah, but I'm Italian. I can do that voice. You can't, Brendan.
That's fine. I'm
My
not
voice.
trying to do the voice. I just said it was racist.
All right, well, I think if we're going to do like stereotypical accents, I really want Greg to do Italian and Brendan to do an Irish accent for at least the next 5 minutes of this particular interview.
Talk about your
Let's
Lucky
not do
Charms.
that. Let's
impression.
get back to
Yeah.
the
Okay.
Oh,
drinking.
fine. You're not fun at all.
I know this is kind of a cliche, but
No,
the one
I'm-
thing
You're the one who just makes us too damn serious, Brendan. So, like, knock it off. Do the Irish accent and like it.
He's the senior partner of our law firm. He's very serious.
He's the senior partner.
Yes. I thought for sure someone was going to do the
I
accent
discovered
for the title
Florida.
of this episode.
What was that, Greg?
I thought for sure someone was going to bring up that accent from the title of our episode. You know, that's from not the Dirty Dozen, that one Western, Wild Bunch.
No, it's not from that either. It's from the Treasure of Sierra Madre.
Oh, that's where it first was?
Yes, with Walter
Oh,
Brennan
so that was
and
a callback.
Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah.
But
But
I
now
think
when
you're thinking that it was actually from Blazing Saddles, though, not the Wild Bunch.
no, it's become a
Blazing
big
Saddles
joke.
made fun of it, but it was from
Wild Bunch
Treasure of
did
Sierra
too.
Madre. And the only reason I know this is because I happened to watch that movie a number of years back, and I went, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's where it comes from."
So I guess the Wild Bunch was a callback to that. I didn't know that. I thought they made it up.
I don't remember it being in the Wild Bunch.
Yeah. The Mexican guy's like, he has the thick accent, like, we don't need no stinking badges.
I don't think that was in there.
And just so you know, everyone, I'm half Hispanic, so I can do that accent too.
But you can only do half the accent. So you're gonna have to do like half of it as Hispanic and half of it as Italian. So how would you combine those two accents, Greg?
I'm not very good at accents in the first place.
I know, but that's why you should try it because maybe you'd be really good at it and you wouldn't know it.
Hey, that's a spicy. I can't. It's hard to do
Spicy
that. mix-up
taco?
accents. That's a spicy taco.
Taco?
You know, say now we lost a bunch of other war listeners just now.
Yeah,
Sorry, Italians.
our Nigerian listener has gone.
Yeah.
He is no longer happening. I think Brennan is having Wi-Fi issues.
No.
He's like very delayed right now.
I just bought a booster. I don't know why it would be. Seems fine to me. You sure?
Oh yes,
You're
because
back. Now it does.
Your face was frozen.
Yeah.
I know.
It's probably because they started watching something on Netflix downstairs.
Oh yeah, that
temporarily.
could be using up your Wi-Fi signal. That'll happen. Would you like to
I
shake
did get-
that cup more into the microphone, Greg, so we can hear all of the
Was
ice
that me?
rattling in it?
Oh, is that me?
Yes.
I was trying to add some good Foley artistry to our episode. I'm a Foley artist.
Was that the sound of his people listening to Netflix downstairs? That's what you're
Yeah, I was
shaking
trying
the
to
cup
imitate
by the
that.
microphone. So I could hear their brains rattling down there,
That's right.
shaking their heads too much. I'm
Okay,
curious
can I-
about. Yeah, go
Not
ahead.
to be too serious, but
Oh
I know
yes,
this is a
please.
cliche.
Be too
But one of the
serious.
things that about age limits is no one in my whole life has been able to answer me since they changed the drinking limit in the 80s to 21
Uh-huh.
is that you can go and die in a war for your country, but you can't have a beer. And that's just nobody can, as how unfair and crazy is that? That's bizarre.
Well, I think it depends upon how the individuals feel about it. You know, they might go, "I'm glad I can't be drunk while I'm going to kill people." You know, but
Well, at the
but,
same
but the
time-
difference is one is done by the individual and the other is done by order. In other words, they're being ordered to go kill people, so they can also be ordered not to drink. Whereas, if you're going to drink on your own, nobody's telling you to go drink anything or not drink anything.
No,
But
that's
I'm
not
not-
the
there's-
issue at
there's
all.
not-
The issue is that as a citizen, you are expected to go to war at 18. You're that mature, I guess. They consider you that ready for the world. And yet you can't have a fucking beer after you get home when you're on leave from Iraq and you've seen all your buddies die.
Well-
No beer for you.
You're frozen
But
again,
what's
Brandon,
interesting to me is why.
and you're sounding robotic too. You're like kind of cyborgy. So maybe you need to
Shut up then.
kick them off of Netflix. So we
No,
can
yeah,
understand you.
go downstairs and rant at them and kick them off Netflix and be like,
And you
I
have to
pay
do
the
it
rent
loud
here.
enough so we can hear it over the microphone.
That would be fun.
Yeah, we want to hear a lot of raging against the
This is
people
my
next.
house.
The question is, my question has always been why these seemingly arbitrary years. In other words, you're an adult at 18. Why 18 and not 19 or 20?
They are kind of arbitrary years. It's like where
Why do
did that come
what-
from?
Yeah, why do you drink at 21? Why not 20? Why are we doing this on uneven numbers?
Yeah, when I
Yeah.
went to high school in the Philippines, and there was basically no drinking age as far as I knew. So I was drinking at like 16 years old whenever I moved out there, and no one ever did a carding or questioned it or whatever. So it was weird for me to come back to the States from that. And I came back when I was 18, and I started going to bars again. And then they changed the age to 21 and started carding people. And I'm like, wait a second, I've been drinking for 2 years. I'm like, you can't keep me from coming in bars now. I'm like, come on. But the funny thing was is that I actually never really got carded when I was around that age, when I was 18, before I turned 21. But after I was 21, that's when I started getting carded. It was like an unusual thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from, where people pick these particular ages. It's kind of like with the movie ratings, you know? Why is 17 the age that you can see things? That's kind of an odd number, literally,
Yeah.
to pick. You know, the PG-13
It's
part.
17.
Right. Yeah, but at the same time, they can still see it as long as there's a parent with them. So parents could take them to see these movies. You know, the only ones they can't see with parents are the X-rated ones.
No, NC-17 was just no one under 17 allowed. It was X, but not pornographic. That's why they made that up. Like Dawn of the Dead I saw, you weren't allowed to go out. Me and my friend were the only kids who saw that movie in the whole town because his dad was a fireman.
I don't think NC-17 existed back then.
It wasn't. It was unrated. They just called those movies unrated. But it wasn't porn. So they wanted to differentiate between XXX, which you knew was porn. But there was a few European films that were unrated because they're really crazy and stuff. But then they made NC-17. I think movies like The Bad Lieutenant, for those arty films, but they're pretty harsh, you know. They don't want.
Well, Bad Lieutenant was harsh because you had to see Harvey Keitel's penis. That's what
I thought it looked pretty good. He had a pretty nice penis for an older man. Yeah.
For a bad lieutenant.
Yeah.
You know, the good lieutenant, they didn't show nothing.
Nothing. That was the
bad
one.
lieutenant. Because the good lieutenant's going to be walking around in a tuxedo solving crimes. Monocle, top hat. That's how.
And of course, these ages have all changed. You know, it used to be you were a man when you were 16, pretty much. Like, I think in the 1800s, you could do anything when you were 16, right? You could probably be a general in the army.
Well, wasn't Joan of Arc like 14 or something when she was running the armies of France?
Well, that was a fluke. She was a saint.
But still, you know, you got to be a saint at the age of 14. What would be the age limit for saints? You know, I mean, there should be like you can't be a saint until you're like 25 or something.
Is that necessary? Are we worried about young kids becoming saints?
Yeah, I think that might be an issue.
It's a problem in our country.
They could start a revolution or something.
Against the English?
No more the Catholics. There would be like no saints allowed because I don't think saints aren't really like looked upon in the Protestant faith, are they?
No,
they're saints.
That's a Catholic thing.
No. That was like a Catholic or an
That's
Orthodox
a Catholic thing.
Right?
That's papistry.
Right, but also patriarchy with the orthodoxies, right? Because isn't it a patriarch that runs the Orthodox churches, like Eastern Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, Serbian Orthodox?
Do you mean men?
No, I mean, like, that's actually what they're called. The person who leads those churches are called patriarchs.
That's Pope.
Yes. Yeah, that's a different definition. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of the Pope. Is it a Pope? Is it
a
patriarch?
So to answer my own question, while you guys were talking, I looked it up, and the 21-year-old thing was a movement led by Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and where they statistically found that places where the age limit was 21, there was less alcohol-related car deaths of young people.
Well, that makes sense.
That's why they picked 21.
If you raise the limit to 35, you're going to lessen the amount of car deaths, too.
Right, exactly. Let's raise it to 50.
That would be significant. It's like if you really want to drop the whole car deaths involving with alcohol, just keep raising the age up, and you'll jack that down. Of course, you'll have more gangs in Chicago if you do that. We'll be taking over town and, bootlegging booze from Canada again. But
can I ask you guys something that I never, as someone who doesn't drive, so
Greg, don't ask. Don't ask. Just make it a statement.
Don't tell. Don't ask. Don't tell.
Right.
Okay.
Don't tell
Matt,
anyone you're
God
asexual.
Damn it. You're gonna listen to me right now. So, as someone who doesn't drive, so I got no skin in the game, as we have said, because I don't have any temptation to drink and drive because I don't have a car or a driver's license.
Did you say jerk and drive? And when you say skin in the game, are you talking about circumcision? What are you talking about?
I did not say jerk and drive. I said drink and drive. But then again, I'm slurring because I'm drinking and talking.
Oh, okay.
There should be a law against that.
I think you're right.
So I knew a friend of a friend.
Jerking and driving is never a good idea.
Yeah, but
Truckers don't
twerking and
appreciate
driving
it
is
either.
great.
Twerking.
But I knew a friend of a friend who was arrested for DUI and had to have that breathalyzer in her car, so her car would not start if she was inebriated. And I was thinking to myself, why shouldn't every car in America have that? You shouldn't be driving drunk, right? So it's not really an impingement of your freedom. It's just
If you're not somebody who drinks, why would you be forced to have to do that? If you're a teetotaler.
Because, it takes a second, you breathe into it, hey, I'm sober, yeah.
But it's also one more thing that can go wrong with your car. No, it's a punishment, Greg. It's to punish people for being dumbasses.
I thought it was to keep them off the road.
Right, that's called
drunk people driving.
That's called the punishment, Greg.
Yeah, but we don't want to. I know how many friends I know who aren't criminals who drive drunk. Almost all my friends,
right.
Fuck it, I'm gonna drive.
Right,
they're not in jail.
And I get what you're saying, but people that get arrested for drunk driving are obviously they're outliers on the amount of they've drunk. Because you can have a couple of beers and drive your car and not be impaired. If you're driving your car in
Florida,
impaired,
that's 20, Greg.
Yeah.
2 cases of beer.
Here,
right.
But if you literally went out to dinner with your wife and had a couple of glasses of wine with dinner, you would drive home and you would not be impaired. That's why they have blood alcohol limits.
But I think that's against the law. So I think even 2 drinks, technically.
No, it depends upon your blood alcohol limit, Greg.
It's the blood alcohol level.
It's not how many drinks you have. Because I could have 2 drinks, and then someone really tiny who has 2 drinks would be affected much differently by those 2 drinks.
Right. Okay.
You can't do it based upon what you drank.
So your breathalyzer would tell you, Matt, as a non-tiny person,
it would say you had too much pasta that day.
Yeah, that too. Your cholesterol is very high. You can't drive, fatty. Get off the road, fatty.
You're gonna have a stroke.
It's like your chair's too uncomfortable. You're gonna have to get out.
Yeah. So if Matt had 2 beers with dinner, and went out, even if he had that thing installed and he blew into it, it would let him drive. If Skinny Pete, who weighs 120 pounds soaking wet, had 3 beers and went out, it might say he can't drive.
Maybe he shouldn't be driving.
Maybe not, Greg. But the fact is that there are also people who don't drink at all.
Yeah,
they should not be punished by some breathalyzer in their car.
It's not much of a punishment. You just go really quick and you're done.
You're not a driver, so you don't understand.
I know.
That's why it's like one more thing that can go wrong with your car. It's like whenever.
Guys, can I preface it by saying everyone I've ever told this theory to is against me, and so I don't know why I brought it up. I knew you guys would disagree because I don't drive.
Everyone is against you, Greg. I mean, in theory, I understand your point.
It would stop all drunk driving.
But it's kind of like, why not just manacle everybody at home? That'll prevent all crimes.
No, that's very different.
Oh, is it, Greg? Is it different, Greg? It's still a violation of freedoms, is what it is. You're violating.
You shouldn't be allowed to drive drunk ever.
According to you, and that's why you're not allowed to vote. You're not old enough to vote, Greg, and you should not be given any of the privileges of people who are 16 who are allowed to vote. Because you can't make rational decisions about other people's driving.
I think it's very rational.
It's irrational.
Very rational.
If you tried to put that in place in Florida, there would be a civil war.
I think
we would secede.
Yeah. I think it would be it wouldn't have to be Florida. It could be frickin' New York City, and it would be that. Of course, a lot of people in New York City don't drive. But still, they would be going... Hey, I ain't putting up with this. Is that racist to do a New York accent, Greg?
No, that's a regional dialect.
Okay, that's not racist. Just want to make sure.
Unless you do a New York Hasidic Jew accent.
I don't know that one.
I remember going to Texas for the first time and experiencing drive-through liquor stores. I'd never experienced that.
Yeah, I've heard of those.
Do they have those in Oregon?
I don't think we have them, but I've seen them in other states.
Yeah.
And Brendan, the beauty... No, they're in Arizona. I live there. The beauty is they even stay open as late as a bar, so at 2 in the morning, your friends can just be like, let's make a mad dash for the drive-through liquor store.
Yeah, I think here they shut down all alcohol for purchase at stores at midnight. You can't buy any alcohol
even
outside
beer
of a bar.
And wine.
Right.
Yeah. But same here in Florida. At midnight, after midnight, you can't buy any alcohol in a store.
Mm-hmm. I would think you would have
you could go to
blue laws in Florida. You can't get booze on Sundays and stuff.
No, that's Pennsylvania and
Well, it's
up
like that in
there.
Tennessee too. So
I don't know.
That's
Didn't spend
Iran
much
you're
time
thinking
in
of.
it was who to what?
I just know I was in Philly and it was a Sunday and I wanted to get some beer and take it back to my hotel because I was there for some reason and I couldn't buy beer. And I'm like at the store, I'm like, okay, I know I'm from Florida. What the fuck? What do I do? Do I have to go to like a bar? I mean, I don't want to go to a bar. I just want to get some beer and go back to my hotel room. And he goes, go to the Pizza Hut. I'm like,
What?
go to the Pizza Hut. He goes, yeah, go to the Pizza Hut, knock on the back door.
Yes, for Jimmy.
When they open it, say, hey, can I buy a 6-pack of beer? And they'll sell you a 6-pack of beer, but it's got to be cash. And I'm like, oh, this isn't shady at all.
No.
I was like, did it work?
Yeah, it worked.
I didn't even know Pizza Huts could sell beer.
Well,
they
have
them
it
here?
depends upon which state you're in.
Okay.
You know, if they have a liquor license or not, or if they have a beer and wine license, and
Wow.
or if
I'm
they have
sure
a packaged license of some kind. But cash at the back door, I don't know if they're allowed to, Greg.
That's
That's
shady.
obviously against the law, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. I just wanted some beer and go back to watch, Showtime or whatever it was in my hotel.
Yeah, you need beer for that.
Mm.
So there's other age limits that we have to deal with, like the age of getting married, right? So I think you have to be. It's like a consent of the parents, or
Isn't that the
like
same as
18.
age of consent?
I think
in
it's
most states?
different. I think it's different. You know.
Oh, okay.
I know,
So you can
because one
fuck.
is sex and one is marriage.
Yeah, but you'd think, okay, you're ready to fuck.
One you don't
obviously,
need a
when you get
license
married.
for. You need a license to
True.
get married. You don't need a license
Yeah.
to have sex.
In
Just think of
Florida,
all the people, Greg, that you've had sex with it. You didn't have a license to do it with.
Oh, I had a license for that.
Did you?
A
A license
that's
for
real.
love?
Yeah.
in Florida, the age is 16, and I know this because I know young ladies who got married at 16.
And how are they doing now? Having good, productive lives, hopefully?
Let me think. One got pregnant shortly after. I think she's doing okay. She pumped out a few puppies, and she's
Okay. Apparently, so
I don't know that she's with her
16-year-old husband?
I don't think she's with her. No, her husband was not 16.
How old was the husband, out of curiosity? How old was the reprobate, if I may ask?
I think he
his
was
name was
22.
Brendan.
22.
No.
22. No,
Yes.
Greg. Don't go there, Greg. Yeah, it's that's just creeps me out whenever guys in their 20s are going after teenagers.
Because I have to say, I knew a lot of women in the 70s, 80s who, like, they were 16, they dated a guy who was 20, right? That's obviously not kosher with the law. But it wasn't this bad, creepy thing they were taking advantage of. That was their first boyfriend. He was pretty cool. It didn't work out, like most teenage love. But they don't have this horrible thing like, oh, I wish somebody would have stopped me. I mean, that was a thing back then. It was like, yeah, 16-year-olds might date a 19-year-old or whatever.
Well, yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis did. He married one.
Well, she was 13, I think. Yeah,
it's like
14.
Elvis Presley, same thing with Priscilla. She was like 16 and he was in his 30s or something.
In Oregon, I just looked it up. In Oregon, it's 17 because that year makes a huge difference.
Well, it does because you can then have sex at the movies. That you could
at raunchy movies.
So you can get into an R-rated movie, so you should be able to get married
and have sex.
Okay, I can follow that logic.
Yeah.
We could have chapels and movie theaters. Come to your movie, fuck in the back row, and then
except
you get married.
for the whole virus issue. But yeah,
right. But like Florida, if they are 17 or in Florida 16, they do have to have their parents' consent. So mom and dad do have to sign off on that.
Makes you wonder about the parents who do sign off on those things. It's like, what goes through their head? We're like, okay, well, this guy's in his 20s, my kid's 16. I think they should get hitched. Where does the mindset come from? Like, there's either one, something wrong with them, right? Or two, the husband to be is incredibly persuasive, or comes from a lot of money or something, or has some connection to like black ops training in some way.
That's the only other conclusion you can imagine. Black ops.
Exactly. You know,
he does
wet work. He does wet work, Greg.
He'll be able to protect you, you're saying.
Exactly. You know, he'll have it'll be like Liam Neeson. He'll have a certain set of talents and abilities, in case she ever got kidnapped by, I don't know, Proud Boys and Antifa at the same time. But what were you saying? What was that, Greg?
I was just gonna say that's a great movie plot you just came up with. I would watch that movie so hard. Proud Boys and Antifa team up to kidnap a young girl, and the Black Ops husband.
She's the only one who can save the country and make America America again.
I like it. In a world
where two people were in love. One, former CIA assassin. Two, teeny popper knocked up at 16.
Head cheerleader.
Parents clueless, but willing to die for their country. This week at your local cinema.
It's got legs.
Starring Charlie Sheen and Corey Elwes. Anyway.
Lindsay Lohan.
Okay. Whoever you
She's
want.
old now.
She's old now.
She's over the hill.
She's so old.
She's
like in her late 20s, right?
Yeah, that's in Hollywood. That's over the hill.
All right.
For women.
We'll go with Dakota Fanning or her little sister, one of those child stars.
Well, actually, I think
they're probably in their.
Elle Fanning's actually been in this show that I've been watching on Hulu called The Great. It's like a comedy about Catherine the Great of Russia.
Can you get her on our show?
No. Well, I mean, I suppose if I tried really hard, I could probably figure out a way to make it happen. But I'm not really interested in getting celebrities on our show because that would like diminish their careers, and I don't really want to ruin anybody's career. So I think that.
Well, maybe there's somebody's career we want to ruin.
Yeah,
that's an interesting idea. Maybe we dedicate like an episode to us trying to get a hold of some no-class celebrity that we all hate.
I want Carrot Top on.
Oh, actually, I like Carrot Top, regardless of the props. I saw him actually do a stand-up routine using no props. The hilarious thing about it was he talked about his props. So it's like he's trying to do a show about not having props, and he's basically telling stories about what had happened to props of his over the years. No, but he was a funny guy. I think his claim to fame was just his energy. He had a really good energy whenever he performed his shtick, and he wasn't like somebody putting other people down. He was just having some fun. Unlike Gallagher, who went insane and lost his mind over the years, probably from too many divorces. Anyway, so back to we don't need these stinking age limits. What other age limits do you think there are? I think there's smoking has an age limit, right?
Oh yeah.
When I was in junior high in Bremerton, Brendan, where you kind of grew up for a bit of time, I was getting tobacco at like 14 to 15 years old with no age check at all. I was buying pipe tobacco and cigars at that age.
This was in Bremerton?
This is in Bremerton, Washington, back in 1980 and 81.
Yeah.
I think at the time there were directives that said you don't sell to people under the age of 16, but I think that they just didn't care and they just sold me it anyway.
That's what we call Bremerton.
Well, that's what we call something obviously wrong with me that I think about it, because what the hell am I doing smoking cigars and smoking a pipe at that age?
I
had a corn cob pipe, for crying out loud.
Well, that's weird, but for other reasons. I
didn't have a lot of money for a good one.
I started smoking cigarettes and buying them myself in Bremerton when I was 15.
Cigarettes, okay.
Yep, didn't get carded, didn't ask shit. Just came in and asked for Camel Lights or Camel Unfiltered or whatever the hell I was smoking. And it was like, there you go.
Well, maybe then that's why it's not an issue if Marines at the age of 17 or 16 can't drink, because they could probably go to a local store. If the stores are near like a military base, they might just sell to those guys anyway because they figure they're in the military and they don't care. I don't know. Maybe
could be.
Yeah, that's a theory. I don't have any evidence to back that up.
I want it official, though.
Like any of us have evidence to back up what we're talking about. So what do you think the minimum driving age should be? I mean, a lot of places at the age of 16 or 17. So why
14, I think, in some southern states or country states. It's like 14 even.
Just so that they can have sex in the back of the car? Oh, okay.
But they figure they have to be able to drive a tractor or whatever, and drive around.
But why not younger? Why not younger
fertilizer?
than that? though? Why not like 13? Well, I mean,
They can't reach the pedals.
in Judaism, technically, you were a man at the age of 13. You know, you had your
Yeah.
bar mitzvah, you were considered a man, you could be a head of a household at the age of 13. I wonder what the age of consent was back then.
Who gives a shit? I think that was the age of consent.
It was abuse anybody you can get away with at that age, at that time in history.
It was how much money do you have?
No, it's how much sheep do you own?
Same thing.
Probably not a lot of shekels in their pockets, but if they had some sheep, you were doing pretty good.
I think people shouldn't drive. I think 16 is a reasonable age limit for people to drive.
What about driving sheep, though? How old should you be to be able to drive a herd?
To be a shepherd?
Yeah, what would be the appropriate age for that?
Oh, that's a
for
tough
driving
one.
a tractor?
No, the actual sheep themselves.
Oh, driving sheep like a shepherd, like with a
Sure.
stick?
Yeah.
Or riding on them. Yeah, a ride with a stick, exactly.
Whatever the fuck.
Because sheep you need a stick for.
You have to be old enough
There's
to
no
fight off a
automatic
wolf.
sheep out there. What was that?
If you're old enough to steer
Fight a
sheep,
wolf.
then you're fine.
To fight a wolf or to cry about a wolf.
Yeah.
That could
Your voice
be.
has to crack enough so people will hear you crying wolf.
So basically, maybe puberty is the line.
It seems like that's what it is. Like when it comes to like the old age of consent laws, like back in the 100 years ago, people were getting married at 13 because they were sexual. So they figured
and you needed to have
sexual,
lots of
they
children.
could have sex.
Yeah, you needed to have lots of children to survive the bad times.
I
But then
think
again-
having raised 3 kids, and Matt, you can maybe chime in. I think 16, 17, somewhere around there. I think they're old enough to be responsible enough to know that they're driving a car and be safe.
I think a couple of mine in their 20s I wouldn't trust to drive a car or have sex for that matter.
Well, yeah.
Or be a shepherd.
Or be a shepherd. We're about to have company. Well, hi, Holly.
Hey, how was the signal tonight?
Oh, it got goofy.
Yeah.
Brendan froze.
Okay.
His head froze a couple of times.
Someone was watching Netflix apparently and ruined the show. I'm not pointing fingers.
No, he's
I'm
pointing
just
his
saying someone.
nose, which is gigantic.
Was it any better than normal?
It got better now.
It's
Recently.
been better since he came back on from whenever he froze and got kicked off.
Huh.
Yeah. But, you know, I think that's part of if it's brand new setup, that it could take a few days to kick in completely to get the smoothness into the
I
system.
hadn't thought about Netflix affecting it. So does Netflix affect it?
If you're streaming Netflix, yes. If you're using DVDs, no.
Oh, we're streaming.
Well, then it definitely affects it because you're using the same signal. You're using the same tube. It's kind of like if you were, imagine going through a flume with a bunch of people on an inner tube, and you put more than one person going down that inner tube, it starts to get full. Well, that's kind of how it works with Wi-Fi too.
That was an odd description of technology.
It is.
That was
The internet is a series
like a
of tubes. You can't put trucks in tubes. Thanks, old man.
No, I think that was awesome. I thought that was a great analogy, Matt.
Thank you, Holly. That's why I like Holly better than Brendan.
It's probably the second weirdest analogy I've ever heard.
Second weirdest analogy I've ever heard.
Someone
Listen,
else,
if you listen to this more often, you'll hear a lot worse ones.
Yeah, you will. From Matt.
A lot of
No.
bad analogies.
No.
That's right. Don't forget, aliens brought Adam and Eve here, but that's a different story.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks for visiting. Don't take any wooden nickels. Okay. Got to figure out how I can edit that out. So
Maybe we shouldn't.
should just leave it there. Like the extraneous things, just make the.
It'll humanize.
Then we'll
it.
have to start putting this on YouTube then, so that then people can understand
'cause
what's
How many
actually
people
going on.
hate us for different reasons, and so this will humanize us and give us a little.
One of these days, I'm going to start attacking our video files and doing things with them to put on YouTube.
Well, the thing is, just to be honest, if we, not calling you out, Greg, if we start earlier, because now we're getting to bedtime.
Oh, right.
So
Yeah.
if we start earlier, we start like at 8 or 5, then they're going to be just doing their thing. But if we go at 9 and it gets to be 10:30, they're going to start going to bed.
So basically, Greg, this is all your fault.
I know this is another
Causing
fluke.
this.
It probably shouldn't happen again.
No, you're
It's
not
fine.
calling him out, Brendan. I'm calling him out because it's my job to give Greg crap. So that's
And
what I was
you're
hired
quite
to do.
good at it.
I was hired to do that, and I'm just fulfilling my duties. All right, so
excelling.
I think we've gone through quite a bit here. Is there anything else we want to address regarding the age limits, or should we just get to the pizza fund?
Let's see. We've talked about voting. Talking about all the age limits of voting, military,
drinking,
smoking.
Yeah.
They recently on smoking. They recently raised the buy cigarettes age here in Florida to 21.
I think they raised it here too.
Yeah, I think so. You know what's weird? I don't like that one. I would like them to raise it to 79. Because I want someone to force me to quit smoking.
Only the elderly should smoke.
They're going to die anyway. Because I can't quit by myself. I need them to outlaw it.
You would still find a way to smoke them, Greg. You'd bootleg just like people do with marijuana for all this.
I would, you're right. Yeah.
And now that marijuana is legal here, it's like anybody's doing it if they want to do it. Mm-hmm. Except for you and me.
I think at a certain age, I think my final comment on this, at a certain age, I don't know what that age may be, we could talk about it or just table it. But at a certain age, I think you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want to do. If you're 80 and you want to do heroin, go for it. Smoke crack, be my guest.
Oh yeah, why not?
Murder somebody, I don't care. If you're 80 and you can actually physically kill somebody without a gun, like you have to do it by hand.
By hand. Oh, okay. You do it with a knife?
Yeah, you can do it with a knife.
Okay.
But if
only by garrote, actually. It shouldn't even be a knife. It should be only by garrote. If you're 80 years old, Jack LaLanne could have done it. He could have done it.
I agree.
And I bet you Schwarzenegger could probably do that too.
For sure, Schwarzenegger could do it.
Yeah, so I don't know. And he would probably go around killing too many people. So I don't know if that's a good law.
I don't know. I'm just saying, well, okay, maybe not the killing part, but the drug thing, whatever. Let him do whatever.
I think Schwarzenegger should be allowed to do heroin. I think that's legitimate.
I think it would be a great idea.
As a matter of fact, I would want him to start today if he could. I want him to do heroin, and I want maybe like a good addiction to crystal meth going on, just so that he can understand what he did to all those guys in Pumping Iron. In terms of how he messed with their heads, it should be happening to him now. Plus, he doesn't deserve to have all of his teeth.
Okay.
Wow. Really?
A lot of hate.
I never knew you hated Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I don't. I love Schwarzenegger, but I just think it's appropriate for his life.
It sounds like.
I think
Schwarzenegger abused me.
Yeah, I don't know what he did.
I was not the age of consent when he took me, and I was very unhappy.
I would tune in to Arnold on heroin. I think that would be a great show.
I think it'd be a great reality show. Yes.
Yeah.
It should be a reality show.
I just want to hear him speaking with that.
And it should be like everybody on TV who has ever named Arnold should be on that same show. Like Arnold
like
the pig from Green Acres. Yeah, the cartoon characters. Their cartoon.
Hey Arnold.
Aardvark? Was that the Arnold the Aardvark or something?
I think he's just a kid, but he's weirdly drawn. He's like a football-shaped head. Hey Arnold, I think it's called. Nick at Night. Nick.
Oh, maybe yes.
I don't know why. I never watched it.
You would know better because you watch cartoons and I don't.
That was a mid-90s cartoon. My kids watched it.
Yep. See, I didn't make it up.
Why'd you say Yahtzee? We're not playing.
I don't think anyone said Yahtzee.
You just did. You said Yahtzee.
Yahtzee.
Who said
no,
Yahtzee?
I said you're Yahtzee. A fucking Nazi.
Yeah, you're a fucking Nazi. I would agree with that.
Well, my political leanings are not necessarily need to be known to everybody.
Your National Socialism doesn't need to be talked about.
You should not be discussing my political affiliations, guys.
I want to
all
get
of my
to pizza.
family would have an issue with that.
Yeah, I want to get to pizza and numbers.
I'm the first Jewish Nazi. Anyway, yeah, okay, so we have at this stage, yeah, I'm pretty sure, $4.29.
What? So that's not as good as last week, but better than most weeks,
well, it's
right?
better than last week. Oh, you're talking about?
We went up 90 cents last week.
I think we went up about 38 cents. I think we went up because I think we were at $3.91.
We were at $3.91, and then we went up to
So we're at $4.29. No, we've had bad weeks, but the weird thing is that we've actually had a pretty good play off of that last episode. We've had 34 plays, which is nearly tied with the week before, which is a 35 plays. So that's had 2 weeks momentum. So obviously, there's somebody out there listening to us. Besides us, I can't imagine that it's Paula listening to it over and over again, because I think she just listened to it once. Your sister listens to it, Greg. Nobody I live with listens to it if they can help it.
My family only listens to it, because I'm talking.
Yeah, our best week was what was it? September. Best day was September. Come here, come on, work with me, damn you.
Do you remember
September
the
3rd.
The
25th
20th
September
day
3rd, we
of
had
September?
35 plays over all of the episodes, which is more than we've had the entire time we've been in operation. The best day we ever had before that was somewhere back in June, and it's not giving me a number. We had 21 plays on July 12th. So we broke records with on September 3rd, getting 35 plays on that one day. All right.
Wow.
So yeah, that's kind of amazing. So
What's the age of consent for being a school teacher? That's what we should have talked about, and our ratings would have been through the roof.
age of old enough to go to school and pay for it. It's
I'm
like
sorry, I meant age limit on a school teacher.
age limit on a school teacher is whatever retirement age is. That's like in their 60s, 65 or
No,
something.
you can't be a school teacher if you're 15. There's age limits the other way too.
I think if you could get through college and get your degree by the age of 15, they would let you be a school teacher.
Matt, I just wanted to bring up schools because schools is our moneymaker. That's what I'll always do in there.
But it's not, because our last episode had was huge. It was marriage and glue sniffing.
But I thought we made more money from
with
school.
34 plays. Well, I guess we made more money from that week, perhaps. But
that's all I care about.
This is a relative term, really, Greg, in terms of money. Because I could give you the money in my wallet right now, which would be a lot more than what we've made since we started the podcast.
Well, big spender there.
Because we made.
Wait a minute, just so I understand.
Yes.
The money.
Yes.
Has to do with collective views of all episodes.
Correct.
Not just the one that was produced that week. So.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. It's overall episodes, and the fact is that we have made a total since the podcast started in June of $4.29. That's total. That's cumulative. That's the entire amount that we've made.
Well, I'm just worried that you're carrying so much cash in your wallet, more than that you're a target for muggers, Matt. You got to be.
If I have a $5 bill in my pocket, I have more than what we've made.
That's what I'm saying.
But I would have to be a target for muggers. I would have to be walking around somewhere outside, and that doesn't happen. I don't.
I'm trying to see if I have. Where's my wallet?
It's right behind you in your chair.
It isn't right.
You sat on it. Anyway, all right. So let's get some analytics here in terms of our audience. So yeah, we keep losing the French people, and after this episode, they might all be gone.
They're gone.
83%.
I put an end to the French audience by opening up with the cuties thing.
83% American, 13% France, 1% Ireland, and then of course less than 1% Canada, India. Was it India before? Ukraine, Nigeria, United Kingdom, Germany. Hey, we've got a new one. Philippines.
Probably somebody who works for me.
Maybe. I don't know. Somebody work for you in the Philippines?
About 15 people.
15 people in the Philippines work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Making blue jeans in a sweatshop for you, Brendan?
No, off-brand members-only jackets.
No, neither one.
It's a call center or something?
No, I have basically digital marketing people. I have a person who does a lot of LinkedIn work for me.
Oh, okay.
I've got a guy that does web development, a couple of guys that do like 3 or 4 guys that do web development. Kind of a personal assistant, administrative type person. Yeah.
Are they like spread throughout the Philippines, or are they like in Manila, or where are they?
They're a little, and then my main 2 guys from me are in Bangladesh. But
and did you meet these guys on the street? How did you come across them? So just randomly walked in and goes, "Hey, you guys, look, are you Bangladeshi? I need you. Come here."
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened.
Yeah.
Like, tell me about your tigers.
So, Brendan, the next time you're having a Zoom meeting with your Philippine colleagues, would you ask them what's the best way to kill a cobra? You just made
them Irish, Greg. You called them Philippine colleagues, like apostrophe colleagues.
I meant to say Filipino, and then the O got a little lagged. But ask them what's the best way to kill a cobra. A steamroller or a bus, a school bus. They'll know.
Which is more efficient, or which is faster. The bus is faster.
I'm happy to
And a
ask.
cobra can outrun the steamroller. We've already confirmed this, Greg. I don't know why you're still
Cobras are dumb. I haven't
back
confirmed
this,
it. I still don't believe it.
bringing
I'd
back
rather have a
this argument.
steamroller.
I've mostly been talking to them about the flying foxes, those big fruit bats that they have out there.
Uh-huh.
That's been my main topic.
You hired them just to get information on the bats?
No, just it kind of came up, and that was sort of my local angle on whatever. I mean, the guy that I work with in Bangladesh was telling me that they have packs of wild dogs in Dhaka, which is the main capital city in Bangladesh, and that in the rainy season the dogs get really very aggressive and kind of lose their minds for some reason, but the people aren't allowed to put the dogs down. That's only a government thing. Only the government can kill the dogs. So he said that the locals really appreciate when the Korean contractors come in to build stuff because the dog population disappears.
Oh, no. We're not going to hit that
Oh,
topic.
no. We just did.
We're not going to
Too
go for
late.
that topic.
I'm just saying that's what he told me, and he's local. I'm just reporting the.
Well,
Your fruit bat consultant in the Philippines told you this.
The positive thing is that he froze before he could go into more detail out of it. But right now, Brendan looks like he's saying, "Stop! Don't touch me there," because that's how he's frozen on the screen. All right, so this is a good time to end off our particular broadcast because Brendan is unable to talk. He is merely a frozen picture on our screen.
Oh, no.
So, Greg, what of importance do you have to say? But what pithy, profound thing do you have to end off? We don't need no Stinkin age limits with.
Why do you always try this and nothing pithy ever comes out of my mouth or witty? Wait, that wasn't it. I was going to say something else.
What were you going to say? What were you going to say?
No, I was going to try to say something semi-pithy. No, that's a good way to end it.
What's a good way to end it?
Oh, you didn't end it? Oops.
This has been the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker Computer Telecast, where any advice has been designed purely for amusement and deep-sea diving. Please take a candy on your way out, pet the lion tamer, and subscribe to this computer telecast if you know it's good for you. The law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker deny all culpability in today's events and are not to be confused with real law offices that have a secretary and books and stuff. Thank you all. Have a good day.